Hi, this is Professor Brennan for Argumentation class. We are talking about the fundamental concepts of argumentation. This is part 4. I am going to review what we just talked about because I think I kind of rushed it at the end. We were talking about stock issues and we had left off on blame, or also known as inherency stock issue. So let's take a look at that. Okay, here we are. So, with blame, what do we mean by that? So in blame, in the inherency, pointing to a deficiency in the policy. Now that deficiency can come in something that's structural, right? It's institutional, come with laws, regulations, other policy. There's something wrong with that policy itself. Or it can be attitudinal. The problem can be with how we're respecting, basically maybe it's institutional racism or the profit motives. Think about the policy when they changed the policy and the Supreme Court voted on this, when they decided that corporations were individuals and how that really changed how then corporations could go about moving through making their profits and their rights, etc. As in that suddenly they had individual rights, which that totally changed the way the law actually perceived their abilities and what they could and could not do. Inherency is absent, meaning whatever's there is not there at all, right? There isn't anything to blame because the situation is completely deficient. It not even addressing the problem. So the advocacy or the affirmative, their job is to assign responsibility for the problem. That's the blame. That's their job. So they have to find that, and they have to decide, is it structural, is it attitudinal, or is it just completely missing? Meaning the problem's not being addressed at all. There's no one to blame for it because no one's even dealing with it. Okay, you with me? All right, let's look at cure and cost. So cure, we're talking about how we're going to solve this problem. It's a solution. What solution are you advocating? You can't just say that there's a problem and say why and who's to blame without offering a solution for it. So the firm have the burden of offering a practical, realistic, workable solution. Okay, practical, something that you couldn't put into practice. It's practical. It's realistic. It's not something fanciful or fantasy. It's something that can actually happen, and it's workable. The negative, your job, if you're on the negative side, is to discredit, to talk about how fantastical that is, how that's never going to work. Let's go back to what I gave you that Newsom example of stating that California is going to become fossil fuel free, dependent free, by 2050, which I think is the correct date. A lot of folks are saying that is totally unrealistic. How's that even going to happen? What's going to happen to industry? Like they are going to discredit, and it's not enough just to say, no, that's going to happen. They have to prove how it can happen. They have to prove that the cost, we're going to get over this, the cost is higher to change it than to just leave it alone. Okay, let's move on to cost. All right, affirmatives prove the benefits of implementing the solution. So Newsom, we already know lots of benefits from it. It's always good, though, if the affirmative, like Newsom, knew what the costs are for making this change. He has to know those costs because then he has to refute those costs. He has to know how much is it going to cost the state of California to make that change and to require all of its residents to make that change, right? If you're a resident of California, to make that change. For me, I have a wonderful Subaru Crosstrek that gets I just took a little trip last week, not this last week, a week ago, 2 weeks ago almost now. And I got 33 miles to the gallon, okay? And it's not a hybrid. That's excellent, considering the kind of car I used to have. So for me, that's excellent. What am I going to do when I have to get rid of that car? It's going to be a financial burden to me to let go of that car. especially I'm going to be older, 2050, I might even not even be here. Who knows? But let's say I was here. I may not be driving anymore, but I could be. Just thinking all that through, right? What does that mean? That means even hybrids are out, right? Electric cars only. Just thinking about that. I'm only thinking about the cost to myself, though, right? I'm not thinking about, what about the earth? I mean, I think that's what Newsom is really trying to do. He's trying to get us to think about something beyond just our own immediate selves, needs for ourselves. Okay, and the negative must show that the costs far exceed any benefit derived from the affirmative policy argument. Do you see? You see the affirmative, that burden of proof that I was talking about? Y'all, if you're on the affirmative, you have a lot of work to do on certain things, especially like I keep thinking of Newsom's policy. I watched when he gave that talk on like a feed, probably on through Facebook or something, through some social media, and I was watching him give that talk, and I saw all the reactions, which were not positive to his proposition and his assertion, and his stated that that was his, well, he's not even going to be governor then, so we'll see what happens. But that's his vision, right? And I could see all of the people refuting that, and for different reasons. So this is what this is. That's what a debate looks like, right? And the bottom line is, before I let you go today, is hopefully the beauty of debate is for you to be able to get in the nitty gritty of the issue and really pull it apart and really look at it on both sides. Not just the negative, doesn't sit there and say, no, 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 no. The negative's job is to figure out why this policy is in place in the first place and why it works. Is to really get into it, really understand it. And if you're an audience member, what you get from it is you go, oh, wow. I didn't really understand this before. Now I can see this side, and now I can see that side. And it makes for really informed social discourse. And that's what we're after. We go back to what I talked about in the beginning of this class of what is communication, is that we're all after mutual understanding. That's the goal of all communication, even this. I'm going to argue even this, and other people might not agree with me, but I believe that that's true. Is that ultimately is that we're after understanding to each other. We might not agree, but we are after some understanding. So I leave that with you. You have a great week, and I will see you next time. And that will be it. Take care.